The Clone Stamp tool gives you the ability to clone or copy an area of a picture and place it into another part of your picture. In this example, we have an arrangement of flowers, and in the arrangement we have an empty area of space here, and I want to clone some of these flowers at the bottom parts of the image and paint them into this area here. And I'm going to do that using the Clone tool. So to access the Clone tool, I'm going to go to the toolbar on the left side here and click the Clone tool. And when I select the Clone tool, settings for that tool will appear along the top here. And in order to adjust the brush size, if I move the cursor into the area, we have a circular brush size, and I can adjust the size of that brush through these settings up here. If I click on that option, and here we've got size and hardness, and if I bring the size down, we get a very small brush size, and if I bring it up, we get a very big brush size. So I'm going to choose a slightly smallish brush size. The hardness controls the hardness of the edge or the area we're going to select. We can have a very hard edge or a very soft edge. I'll start with a very soft edge. I'll bring the hardness down to a very low mark, and later on we'll bring it up to the very high or hard edge and see the difference between the two. So at the moment it's set to a soft or a very low hardness setting. And to get rid of this control panel here, I'm going to press the Enter key on the keyboard. Incidentally, we can increase or reduce the size of the brush using keyboard shortcuts. I can use the open and close brackets on the keyboard to make my brush size bigger or smaller. So in order to clone or copy an area, so this flower over here, I'm going to clone this and I'm going to paint it up over here. So to clone that area, I'm going to hold down the Alt key on the keyboard. And as I do so, the brush turns into a target symbol, and I click and release with the mouse brush to target or sample that area. And then once I've sampled it, I release the Alt key. And now when I move the brush over to this area, we can see inside the brush the area which I've sampled. It's giving me a preview on what I'm about to paint with. So I'll move my brush over to this area. I'll click and hold down the mouse button and start to drag, and as I'm dragging, I'm starting to paint that sampled area into the top part of the flower arrangement. And as I'm doing so, as I'm painting with this brush, you'll notice that where we sample the area, there's a small white cross, and as I'm moving my brush around, the cross is also moving too. And that's a visual indicator that's telling you where we are copying or cloning our area from, where that white cross is, and it's painting it into where the brush is. So when using the clone tool, you've really got to keep one eye on what you're painting, and also one eye on where the cross is, where it's cloning or copying that information from. And as I move up further into the area, we can see it's sampling new parts of the image. So I've got quite a good piece cloned there. I want to clone somewhere else now, so I'm going to release my mouse button, move my brush into another area. I want to clone this part of this flower here, and also I'm going to adjust the hardness setting. You can see over here where we had a soft setting to the clone tool, we've got a soft edge over here. But let's go up to the brush settings again. This time I'm going to choose a very hard edge to my brush. I'll press the return key to get rid of that settings panel, and then I'll move down to this brush over here. Once again, I'm going to hold down the Alt key. I get the target symbol again, and I just press and release my mouse button to sample or target that area. I then now release the Alt key, and I'm going to start cloning that flower and paint it into this area here, clicking and holding down with my mouse button, and I start to paint. And you can see the difference that the hardness setting has made to this brush. We've now got a very hard edge to the brush where I'm painting. I'll just release my mouse button. I'm not particularly keen on that hard edge, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to edit and undo that. And I'm going to go back and choose a mid-range hardness for my brush tool. Once again, I'll press return to get rid of that panel. And I'm going to sample that area again, holding down the Alt key, clicking releasing with the mouse, and again going back up to this area, starting to paint again, clicking and holding down the mouse, and I've got a soft area or a soft edge to my brush once again, which gives a nicer effect. So I can go around sampling different parts of the flowers in order to clone them and copy them elsewhere. So I'll just try one more area. I'll hold down the Alt key. This time I'll click and release my mouse button on this flower. Release my Alt key. Come back over here. Click and hold down my mouse button and start painting. And then I'll release the mouse button, and that completes my flower arrangement.